Auth66. I'm going to try and be louder than the people who are gaming in my household right now. I said I wasn't sure if I was going to do one of these this weekend, or any of them this weekend, I should say. But I was watching a movie from my youth, and it had me thinking about a conversation I had with a friend the other day, just about nostalgia. And I don't know, I just thought I'd share, some thoughts about that, because I think, the senses that we have, our 5 senses, I think it's 5, right? They can bring us back, or trigger a memory that brings us back to the most, random times, or things that maybe we didn't realize at the time would be significant or enjoyable, or, that would be important, maybe that's the way to put it. And it can also give us some perspective, because, time is such a funny thing. For example, I'll look back at photos from high school and I'm like, ooh, I would give anything to look like that again. But when I was there, I was like, oh, I wish I looked like I did when I was younger, or like this girl, or whatever. And it's like, sometimes you can't have that perspective, right, while you're in it. And then I thought about, for me, all the different things that trigger nostalgia, right? So it can be books, it can be movies, it can be songs, it can be smells, it could be going to a place that reminds me of something from my youth. Some of the funnier things I actually thought I would share is because I found myself reflecting on the fact that the things that were important to me were things that I tried to bring to life for my kids. And the reality is that it's kind of a choose your own adventure, right? Like, books are super important to me. As I read to my children quite a bit when they were younger, and even, up until like 7, 8, tried to read with them as well, but they never really grabbed onto it. One of the things that I loved when I was, younger, was getting highlights magazines. They have these like picture puzzles in them, where you have to like find certain things, or find a certain amount of things, or hidden things. But they also have like little articles and, whatever. And we never could afford the subscription, but I would sign up for, they would be like, we'll send you 3 issues for free, or whatever. And I would sign up for them, and I would do that at least like once or twice a year. And I would like get them sent to like different people that I knew, just to try, right? And like, I would look in the mail, because first of all, it's exciting when you're a kid to get mail. When it was going to our house, I would look in the mail, or when I was going to like church members or whatever. And I would pour through those things like right away and try and do all the puzzles I could. And it was something so silly, so, simple. But the things that I learned in those books, the ways that I would apply the idea of, looking at things from all angles, or in ways that are unexpected, to see what might be hiding, that's actually a huge part of who I am today. And the time between when that happened and now can help me reflect on that. But to also go back to that, child mentality, and being so curious, easily curious, and having so many things to discover without, having experiences or knowing. There's also something about that, I've got another book here I was going to share, because this was actually something kind of funny. So I grew up with these, very much aging myself right now. And they're like, for each letter, or there's 2 letters each, there's like a set, and we had these at school. And I remember just like going through these and reading them, because there's like funny little comics, and I loved Sesame Street. It was one of my favorites. So when my kids were little, we went to like a book sale, and they had the entire set, and I was like, sign me up for that. And I tried so hard to get my kids interested in this. And I mean, they did a little bit, but, you know, not in the same way that I did. And it was kind of sad because I wanted to share that with them. But I think that's the thing. You can't control who your kids are going to be, right? Like you kind of have to give them room and space to figure out who they are. It's cool to share the memory, but it is a memory that is important to me. Nostalgia is really funny. You know, you look through the lens of what happened and you romanticize it a little bit. Like, you know, you wish you could go back, you wish you could do it all over again, because comparatively to where you are now, it feels infinitely more simple. I sometimes get nostalgic for high school, but let me tell you, high school was rough. I know that it was rough. And I don't think that my life now is, you know, worse than high school, but there are still some times where I wish I could have the experience of today. I wish I could have the perspective of today and go back and re-experience things. No one's made that pill yet. No one's made the time machine to make that happen. But it would be really interesting if that was something possible. You know, the youth is wasted on the young, something like that. Because, you know, there's all this possibility, but you don't have enough experience or confidence yet in yourself to take hold of those possibilities. So I always try to tell my kids, you know, like, seize the day, you know, not to go full quote on that, but really take chances while you can, because the older you get, the more risky those chances are. And I think the reflections surrounding that probably come from the fact that I'm now in my 40s and, you know, well, man, average life expectancy still says that I have so many more years left to live. But I do feel like time is passing by. It's going through my fingers a little bit. And something that when I reflect on nostalgia, when I reflect on, you know, the journey thus far, is what I want to change and what I want to make sure to be different moving forward. Which, I mean, is personal growth, right? Like, it's just part of the journey. We should be celebrating what we love and looking to hone and refine the things that we know need some work. I feel like this Auth66 journey for me is a little bit of that. I think we can all get in, like I talked about it earlier, about being in autopilot a little bit and just doing the same things over and over again. And I've been really blessed in the last year or two to come across some people that have really helped me, like, consider, own my very curious and existential brain, because they're kind of willing to walk through that with me, and they're very similar. I had a conversation, like, I think it was just over a year ago, with someone, and we were just like, how do people, you know, end up finding like-minded people? And it was this almost like a confirmation bias, I think is what we were talking about. Like, you know, you might attach that to place, a memory or whatever, when something like that happened, as if that thing is important. But really, you're only doing that because you stopped in that moment and reflected, because you could feel that shift. I wish that nostalgia was the same way. I wish that when we were going through a moment in time, it was a little bit easier to recognize what was great about that particular moment, as if we had already gone 20 years into the future. I know what I'm saying probably doesn't make any sense, but the hindsight that you look back on now, I wish you could have that in the moment. I wish, like, people could have that in a moment, because I think it just would make you appreciate where you are at, the season you're celebrating, in a different way, because I think there's something good about each season of life. And I think, you know, it's important, at least to me, but I think important overall, to figure out how to find ways to reflect on that while you're in the moment, so that we're not like going so far in the future to look back. I think, you know, it's kind of convoluted, like a lot of things that I end up talking about. But I think my overall goal is to just be a little bit more present, a little more open, so that I can, you know, not be waiting for 10 or 15 years or 20 or whatever to enjoy this moment right now. Because I can feel it, that no matter what roller coaster, you know, is happening, and I've talked about that a little bit on my Auth66 about how things can get a little crazy at times and it can be overwhelming. I'm still really blessed. There's still a lot of really great things in my life, and that it's important to remember that whatever heavy thing is going on, there's still positive things, there's still good things. And I think those are the things that 20 years in the future that I will end up being nostalgic about and wishing I could go back to. So I might as well just enjoy them now while I'm in it. This is a long one. Hope you stuck with it and that you're having a great weekend.